Hey guys, Brook here. I wanted to put a quick video out pertaining to some of the issues that I've seen recently in the realm of the Christianity and especially those amongst the deconstruction community and how they relate to the political arena. Now, this is 2017. We just had the UK elections. I was witness to a lot of this during the US election of Trump, around Brexit, during the French and the Dutch elections as well. And I felt that I wanted to put a comment out about some of the things I've seen and the concerns that I've had. Now, first of all, I am not advocating for any particular political position. I do not believe that Christianity has any political leanings. You can be far left, right, center, middle, anarchist, whatever. And I don't think that there's any kind of compulsion to say that a Christian has to be any particular way. Secondly, contrary to the argumentatum ad temperantium, which is the argument of temperance, meaning you gotta stick to the middle ground. No, I don't believe that that's the case at all. If a person happens to be pro-life and they feel very strongly about it, there is no reason that person has to temper or moderate their beliefs in that area in order to make it the right one. So, you're free to believe what you want. Secondly, I'm not advocating for any particular type of government. As I said, I am not advocating for a theocracy or anything like that. I'm just concerned with some of the things I've seen within the democratic process and how Christians tend to justify many of their positions. Now, with that said, I personally believe that the community of faith, the church, and so forth has been commanded by Christ to be loving and be compassionate and to share that compassion voluntarily throughout time, effort, and charity to the least fortunate in our society. Now, that is what I believe Christ has commanded his church to do. However, in more recent times, it seems that a lot of that seems to have shifted, where Christians now believe it is our moral obligation to put that responsibility on the institute of the state. And it is now the state's responsibility to care for the sick, care for the widows and orphans, and do many of the things that in fact Christ commanded his church to do. Now, I'm not opposed to any kind of social, safety net within a society. However, I do think there is in fact a distinction between the community of faith and the role of the state. I believe Jesus espoused this when he spoke about rendering unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, render unto God that which is God's. Paul even wrote in the book of Romans how the state has actually used, or the soldier carries not the sword in vain, but the state is the instrument of God's wrath or correction. And if you read the scriptures, there tends to be a distinction between how God deals with the individual versus how God tends to deal with, the royalty, whether the king or the state or however you want to put those equations together. So I do think there's a distinction. The community of faith is concerned with your personal relationship with your creator. In our case, in Christianity, it's the personal relationship with Christ and how that's reflected in the community. For the most part, the state doesn't really care what you personally believe, and up until recently, they didn't care what you thought either. However, they only really got involved when your beliefs and your actions started to affect other people. Now, it doesn't mean that these two realms don't cross over from time to time. As I say, in the realms of Judaism, thou shalt not commit murder. If you commit murder, it has both the implications within Judaism as well as, you will get some repercussions from the state. So they do interact with each other, however, they are by no means one and the same. And I think that's a distinction that I'm trying to draw. Me forcing you through the use of coercion or the threat of force to give to a charity that I agree with is not a morally praiseworthy act. Now, I can persuade you to give to a charity. I could, show you stats and, all the good they're doing or something like that. And you can give voluntarily to that charity. But it is a very different thing if I use force or the threat of force to get you to do something against your will. And in many respects, that's what we're doing when we impose the state to use taxation and borrowing and these other things to take money and resources from people who do not even share many of our beliefs to support the charities that we just happen to like. But at the same time, the issue is that those same precedents that we set to use the state to impose our brand of morality, if the demographics in the society ever change, and let's say, for instance, Islam becomes the dominant religion within the realm in the political arena, the same precedents that we've used to set those moral standings within the state, and impose that morality upon everyone, is the same precedent that Islam or Hinduism or any other religion can then use to then turn around and impose their version of morality upon the rest of us. And this is the danger of using state power, especially in the realms of, the realms of faith. And, as well-intentioned as many, people are, and they think they're looking after the broken and the least, the disenfranchised and the least cared for in the society, and there's nothing wrong with that. Trying to justify it by saying, well, this is what Christ commanded us to do, I think there is a disconnect there. And it does open up a lot of potential problems, down the road where things may change. And the same things that we're trying to do, somebody can then turn around and use it against us. So for me, I am a libertarian. I believe in decreasing the amount of state power in many of these areas. I don't think the state should be involved in religious affairs in any capacity. And I personally believe that a lot of the issues in society will be helped by social institutions like the church and communities of faith, through the preaching, persuasion, arguments, loving people, taking care of the disenfranchised. But I think this has to be done from the community of faith, where it's done out of an expression of charity and love rather than obligation or a job. And I think for a lot of people, especially the poor and the broken, that human connection and that genuine compassion does do a lot of healing for a lot of people, not just a government program and these people need to do it because it's part of their job. So I personally see a distinction. Some people may not agree with me. That's fine. Leave a comment below if you disagree. We could have that discussion. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. And as always, I hope to see you guys all out there in my travels. So God bless you all. Take care. Bye-bye.